slides. That would be handy. So hi, I'm Claire Thompson. I head up the customer analytics team at RBS for the commercial and private bank, and I'm also a mum. I've got 2 kids, Hannah, 10, and Jack, 8. So the reason why I wanted to do the talk today is I'm a passionate believer in diversity. I believe to get the best results, you need to have the best team in place, and that's one that contains a diverse set of skills and knowledge and experience. That means you have to have people who have grown up in the business, people who have come in from outside, people who are optimists, pessimists, risk takers, risk adverse, gender, age, education, background. There's lots of it. Now, I have to be honest, it's a lot easier to manage a team that doesn't have that diversity, because typically everyone agrees. So it's a nice, easy life. However, it's only when you actually get that diversity into the team that you get the diverse range of opinions and perspectives that allow you to explore the whole range of options and alternatives. So to get that diversity, we need more women in data, and particularly in senior positions. I'm hoping that by sharing my experience today of what it's like to be a working mum, you'll actually get to see that it is possible, and that once you have kids, your career doesn't actually have to stop. So I'm going to talk for around 15 minutes, and then hopefully you perhaps have any questions and you'll be able to ask me what it's actually like. I started my career as a SAS programmer. R didn't exist in those days, way back when. I did a degree in statistics at university, and I predominantly worked in financial services ever since. Really enjoyed various different roles that I've had. They've always had some sort of involvement in data, but I haven't been a hands-on programmer now for a number of years. Part of me misses it, I have to say. I used to enjoy the sort of coding and bringing it all together and being able to tell that story. But I also love what I do today, because actually I'm not hands-on, and I do get to lead people and help them fulfill their potential. So I'm quite privileged in the fact that I do understand when I'm speaking to the programmers as to how the data structures and the challenges they're facing. But equally, I've had line managers who actually didn't come from that background at all. Actually, one of the best managers I ever had actually started his career as a butcher, and had come in, had never had anything to do with data at all. And he was amazing. I learned so much about leadership, because leadership, you should be able to go in and manage any sort of team. You've got a team of technical specialists. It's then more about how do you actually bring those people on, get them to explain to you what the problem is and challenge them back. And he was amazing at that. So I think working in data is a really exciting career choice. It allows you to think creatively about challenges. It allows you to influence different decisions that the business is looking to make. It allows you to add tangible value and potentially change the lives of millions of people. It's a particularly exciting time now to actually be working in data. It's changed quite dramatically even in the time that I've been in. There's now text analytics, there's machine learning. They weren't things that were around when I started out on my career. It also means that the companies now are beginning to realise that using data can actually transform their organisations. That means that they're investing a lot more into this actual space. Unfortunately, as the analytics is booming, the skills gap is actually widening, and therefore there is a real opportunity to make a difference in this space. Now, I know my talk today on what it's like to be a working mum isn't going to be relevant to all of you. I know that there will be some people here who don't have kids yet. I will know that there'll be some people here who won't want kids. I know that some perhaps have had kids, they've grown up, and that part of their life's over and their career's still going. But what I'm hoping is that a work-life balance is important to all of you, and therefore hopefully perhaps some of what I say might be helpful to you. So basically there are 5 key things that I'm going to talk about that I feel sum up how I managed to juggle being a mum and also working full-time. So they are basically doing it your way, having a good support network in place, flexible working, it's a compromise, and love what you do. So I'm now just going to talk through those one by one. Okay. So the first one, do it your way. So as I said, people are often surprised to find out I'm a full-time working mum and in a senior role. Hence the title of my speech, "Oh, you're a mum." I've had that a couple of times. But when they do find out, I then get the questions to say, okay, so how do you juggle it all? And in all honesty, it is hard. but it is possible. So when the children were very young, I was looking for a role model, and actually I really struggled to find one. I looked around at the senior women within the organisation, and either their husbands were at home looking after the kids, or their kids were in boarding school. They didn't have kids, so I had no one to really relate to. And I remember one particular event I'd gone to, a networking event for women, and somebody asked one of our senior leaders, so how do you juggle it? She actually had twins. How's your work-life balance? I thought, great. Finally, somebody's going to tell me how they managed to do it. So she started to tell me about how she got up at 6 a.m. in the morning, get on her BlackBerry, do some mails for work. She then sit down and have breakfast and go into the office. She then tried to make sure she'd always leave the office by 6 p.m., get home, cook dinner for the family, put the kids to bed, and then log back on, do some more work and not finish until 10 or 11 at night. And I was like, oh, it's not quite what I'm looking for when I thought work-life balance. So I was really horrified. I mean, that was her choice. She loved what she did, but that's not what I was looking for. So I sat down and I had a conversation. I had a female mentor at the time, and I sort of talked to her about this event, and I was like, can't find a role model. And she said, yeah, there is one. And she sat there and she went through them, and she was like, oh no, there's not. And I was like, no. So anyway, I was speaking to another female leader, and I said to her, I told her the situation, and she said to me, you just have to do it your way. And I was really disappointed, thinking, oh no, but there must be someone. But actually it was the best advice, because from that moment on, I then started to think about, what was working, what wasn't working, and really try and make it work for me. So that's my first tip. The next one, good support network. So being a full-time working mum isn't possible, I believe, without having that network in place. And that means both at home and at work. So I'm the main earner in our family. And when it came to maternity leave, it wasn't really an option for me to take lots of time off, because I couldn't afford to do that. So I took 6 months off for my daughter, and I took 5 months off for my son, and went back to work. And I'm very lucky to have a husband and a family who really support my career choice, because it is a choice that I have made to do. And it's especially helpful when you've got that network in place when the kids are sick, and actually you can't send them to the childminder because the childminder won't take them because they're sick and they might infect the other kids, so no. So that's really handy. But before I went back, it was really important to sit down with my husband and agree actually how it was going to work, because my career choice has a big impact on him. I sometimes have to do occasional overnight stays, and on very rare occasions, I've actually had to do week-long trips. That's a really big impact. How do we begin to manage that? So he's very supportive. It means, though, that he has to step up and do perhaps the drop-offs to school, or the school homework, or the whatever other stuff happens to be going on. Housework is another big one. And he's really important, because when I don't get that balance right, when he feels I'm perhaps focusing too much on work, and I have those moments, he'll tell me. Now, I might roll my eyes at him, but really I need him to tell me that, because when he doesn't do that, I know, it keeps me in check. It just makes sure I get that balance. One of the other things that really helped was having an amazing childminder. I had one that really understood what it was like to be a mum, away from your kids, and perhaps missing out on those special moments. First steps, first words. I wasn't, necessarily there. I was away. So she would take photographs and videos throughout the day and email them to me, so actually I could see what they'd actually been up to. And that made a really big difference to me. That really, really helped. So the other thing that really helped was just having a line manager who really sort of understood what was actually going on. And I've been very lucky. Some line managers have had kids, and therefore were perhaps going through the same things that I was, and therefore could relate. Some haven't, but they've just been really sympathetic. I have, however, heard horror stories from some women who have had to take time off, for example, to look after a sick child, and have been made to feel awful. So that's why I count myself lucky. I have never experienced that, but I do know that it has happened. So that's just a little bit more around that one. The next point that I'm going to talk about is flexible working. So I believe that flexible working is one of the key things that actually makes that work-life balance possible. So when I went back the first time, after having my daughter Hannah, I actually went back part-time initially for a little while just to settle into the routine. So I was doing 3 days a week, 10 till 6. And while the work pattern of doing part-time allowed me to have some time at home with Hannah, which was really great, it was also really hard because the day that I came back in afterwards, I would have to probably spend half the day, because you know what it's like when you've been on holiday and you get a whole load of emails. Well, that's what it was like, coming in every day. There'd be a stack of them waiting there because everyone else had been working the day beforehand. So, that was really hard. What I did, however, I liked doing the 10 till 6. 10 till 6 was really great. It allowed me to get up, get the kids ready, take them to the childminder. Bit of a manic rush in the morning, trying to get it all, and you might have had the sick down the shoulder of the suit just before you were, leaving the door, and you'd be like, no. But I loved it, because then you'd also get to 5 o'clock, everyone had gone home, it was a bit quieter, and I'd get loads done. There was no interruptions or anything, so it was a really great routine for me, so that worked really well. Later on in my career, when I had the 2 kids, I actually was working full-time. I'd just taken a new job. I was commuting over 3 hours a day into Canary Wharf, getting very little sleep because both kids still weren't sleeping through the night. I don't know quite why I made that decision with hindsight, but I did get through that. And I was really struggling to find the right balance at that point. And I was speaking to a male colleague of mine, and he said, you need to go and ask your line manager to be able to work from home to make a big difference. And he was really clear to me. He said, when you have the conversation, you are to use the words need to, not want to. Now, I hadn't asked my line manager this because I knew that she didn't really like people working from home. So I'd held off doing that. But actually, surprisingly, when I had the conversation, she didn't even bat an eyelid. She actually just agreed it straight away. And it made me think, actually, why had I not done that sooner? Why had I continued to struggle through? I should have just asked and explained what the situation was. So, it's through those sort of learnings that I've had, that flexible working from home. As soon as you then working perhaps 1 day a week from home, it makes a massive difference. All of a sudden, that 3 hours that I was commuting, I've got back. I'm more productive, I'm at home, I'm able to do that. It means I can get the kids ready for school and take them off and do some other stuff, housework around the house, whatever it may be. It makes a really big difference. So that's a really big part of, what I think is important. And I think the fact of working in data, it really allows you to do that. There have been quite some big advances now in technology. Mobile phones, broadband at home mean that you can work at home and be just as productive. It doesn't matter. And actually, I've got a team spread out over multiple locations, different time zones. They don't really care whether I'm speaking to them from the office or from my home. It doesn't make a difference. So I think that's a really positive thing. And I do have people in my team who work part-time and do different hours. They might do 8 till 4 instead. And actually, everyone in the team works from home or a local office at some point during the week, and predominantly because desks are getting a lot shorter of supply in London. So, but I'm quite happy with that. I think it's really good because it means that it gives everyone a good work-life balance. So the next topic, it's about compromise. So my daughter Hannah has really long hair, and she refuses to have it cut. And my husband is good at a great many things, but her hair is not one of them. So I try to do her hair in the morning because I'm worried that she's going to go into school and perhaps be picked on because her hair's not done right. And unfortunately, it's not always possible. As I said, I sometimes have those occasions where I've got to do an overnight stay or a week-long trip. And then I have the worry that my daughter's going to school with what I refer to as daddy hair. Yeah, I have this image in my head that it's all over the place. And in fact, at times I've been so worried, I've actually asked the teacher and said, is her hair okay? And I think she thought I was a little mad. But she said, no, it's fine. So I think I sometimes imagine these things to perhaps be worse. And actually, I do have to trust my husband that actually he is able to do those things. Perhaps not quite as good as me, but yeah, it's enough. It's also really hard not knowing the other mums at the school gate. I'm not there to chat to them. I'm not there to get to know them. So I do like to occasionally just go pick them up So they realise that they do have a mum. And I normally get the comment, oh, you're Jack's mum. Yeah, it's me. But for me, it's about that compromise. So there are some things I've missed out on, but it's through my choice, that I've done those. And there are certain things that I won't compromise on. So I do make sure that I go to the parents' evenings, the school plays, the sports days, their birthday parties. They are really important to me. So it's about getting those dates in the diary as soon as I can and planning my work around them to make sure that I can go to those and not miss out on those special moments. It's also about making sure that weekends and family holidays, that time together is really important, and I just make sure that I make the most of it when I am there. There is some stress involved in when you're trying to actually combine being a good mum with a hard-working, successful employee, and sometimes it can feel like there's not enough hours in the day. And there are good days and there are bad days, but whatever the outcome, you do manage to actually get through. And it's important to achieve that good work-life balance. And there are times where you feel you've perhaps failed at work, or you've perhaps failed at home, and I just have to remind myself that I'm not perfect, I am not Superwoman, and I just have to forgive myself and get on with it. The last point, and we've actually heard a lot of people, when they've been talking today, love what you do. I love my family, and they are absolutely my number one priority. But I also believe to be a successful working mum, you have to love what you do and be passionate about it. This is advice I'd give to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, kids or no kids. You spend over half your waking hours in work. Why? It's hard enough being away from your family as it is. Why on earth would you, go and do something that you're actually not enjoying? I love working in data, and I absolutely love helping people fulfill their potential. And when you love what you do, you feel a lot more fulfilled, you are more productive, and most importantly, you're motivated. And it's that motivation that you need when you find that your work-life balance, isn't quite right. So those 3 hours that I was talking about where I was commuting and not getting very much sleep, that motivation is really important to get you through those times. Now, when I do have those bad patches, and they may be perhaps going on for a little while, you have to step back and have a look and find out, why is it? Why is that happening? What am I not happy about? And you have to really change that and do something about it, because you don't have to stay in that. You have a choice. You can change, what's actually going on around there. Because I know that when things are bad at work, it has a really big impact at home. So there you have them. That's my 5 things that have helped me achieve a work-life balance that's right for me. And I feel it's important to share my story and be open and honest about what it's actually like. So hopefully others feel that they are able to ask questions and see that it is possible to have both. So it doesn't have to be the end of your career when you have kids. It is possible. Difficult, but it is possible to actually do. And thinking about what I was going to talk about today, I started to reflect on what it's actually been like. And actually, it is easier. Now my kids are getting to the age of 10 and 8. They're able to do a lot more for themselves, and it is a lot easier with them. They're at school and everything. So, they don't stay little for very long, and it doesn't last forever. And I find being a mum and working full-time very rewarding. And I hope I'm setting a good example for my daughter, because, that may be a choice that she's going to take one time. But also for my son, because he may have a partner who's also going to want to perhaps make the same decisions that I have. And hopefully they'll both be proud of me. Anyway, I can't say that what works for me is going to work for you, but hopefully, if it's not relevant now, perhaps it will be in the future, and you'll be able to perhaps take some of this and use it as you go forward. Anyway, thank you for listening.